Welcome back. Today we get to talk about one of my favorite topics. Why is it a favorite? Because it's an area of a lot of controversy. It's all about natural supplements, natural products, vitamins, herbs, and other supplements. Now, some people think that a supplement can cure everything, from hair growth to toenail fungus. I have colleagues that I work with on a daily basis that say supplements are totally useless. Those are the two extremes. Personally, I take a middle-of-the-road approach. First, I look at what my patients are eating. I do some blood work to see what they need. And then I make a decision on should I prescribe a supplement. So let me give you a few examples. One of my favorite vitamins is vitamin D. Why might I use it? Well, if the vitamin D level is low, this can lead to depression. It can lead to symptoms of fibromyalgia like muscle aching. It can lead to calcification on the valves of the heart. This is just a short list. Vitamin D is not even a vitamin, it's a hormone. So that's one that I will measure the level of what's called the 25-hydroxy vitamin D, and I will give that to my patient. I may also use a B vitamin called niacin. Niacin is a tried and true B vitamin for correcting a very important cholesterol abnormality. Niacin raises the good cholesterol, the HDL. So I use niacin all the time in my practice. And we'll also talk about some of the benefits of fish oil. These are just a few that I use every day. So as a physician, I have reached the conclusion that vitamins, herbs, and supplements do play an important role in our health. Today, we are going to learn how to base your decision to take any natural product on good evidence and how to choose the best ones. Now, I always smile when people show up in my office and they have a big bag of vitamins. Everything is in there. And I say, who advised you to take these? And they say, well, my friend was telling me at the bridge club to take this or to take that. But at the end of the day, not everyone needs the same supplement. For example, someone who has osteoporosis, well, you can bet they're going to need things like calcium and vitamin D and K2, maybe even strontium and zinc and magnesium to build their bones back. But that doesn't mean that everyone needs those things. And we don't need the same thing all the time. For example, I mentioned the healing power of ginger. Well, if someone's going to take ginger in the form of a supplement, I usually give it for a particular reason, like if they're pregnant and they have nausea. That's a good time to give someone ginger in the form of a ginger tea, for example. Most importantly, we all need to understand the natural products industry. If we just go and pick things off the shelf, we're not making informed decisions. We need to make informed choices. To give you an idea of how important this is to be an informed consumer, let's take a look at some statistics. We know today that 52% of adults in the United States take some form of a dietary supplement. This could be fish oil, it could be a B vitamin, it can be an antioxidant. Over 50% of the adult population. What was surprising to me in the research was that 30% of U.S. children take dietary supplements on a regular basis. And everyone is familiar with those little chewable vitamins that are given to kids. But 30% seem like a big number. So what we're talking about here is a $23 billion industry. This is big money. A lot of money is being spent. So clearly, there is a need for good information and education. So let's take the first step and review how the dietary supplement industry is regulated. And by the way, if you're thinking it's totally unregulated, there's no control, hopefully I'm going to convince you that it is indeed regulated. Well, we have to begin in the 1990s. In 1994, the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act was passed. The acronym for this is DSHEA. So what did DSHEA say? DSHEA said that products listed as dietary supplements are not required to undergo the same stringent approval as drugs. Well, that sounds scary. Also, they do not require proof of safety and effectiveness. So basically, what that means is I can go in the back room here at the great courses, whip up a product, we can put a fancy label on it, and we can put it out as a dietary supplement in the 90s. I don't have to prove it's safe. I don't even have to prove it works. That's the scary piece. What DSHEA also said was that you cannot make a claim that you can diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent a disease with that supplement. So, for example, you could not say, this supplement will lower your blood pressure. Could not say that. But that led to bringing products on the market with names like BP low. What does that imply to a person looking at the shelf? BP low sounds like low blood pressure to me. Those kind of things people were able to get away with. Every dietary supplement had to have a disclaimer on it. It had to say, this statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent a disease. Well, the sad part about this is this did not stop people who wanted to make money. And we saw products on the market like Cancer Off. Well, that sounds like an anti-cancer thing to me. Cancer Off, 126. And I'd like to read the label to you because it's so amazing that this can exist. The label says, this formula can help remove melanoma, breast cancer, lung cancer, intestinal cancer, lymphadenitis, that's inflammation of the lymph nodes, syphilis-related skin lesions. Oh my God, this thing could cure everything. I mean, just look at that. This is what gives natural supplements their bad reputation. This is bad medicine. We also found, even after DSHEA, that there were many supplements on the market that had prescription medications in them. In 2002, for example, a supplement called PZ-SPES, S-P-E-S, was found to have a blood thinner called Coumadin, and amazing to me, Xanax, alprazolam, a drug that's like Valium. So people were putting the drugs in the supplements. There were even supplements that were found to have sawdust in them. Products that say they could treat erectile dysfunction. In 2008, when they were analyzed, found they had things like Viagra. So clearly, there's room for further legislation and further regulation. And the good news is, it's happening. In 2007, the Good Manufacturing Practice Law was passed. This requires safeguards on manufacturing dietary supplements. It requires that dietary supplements are manufactured consistently in terms of their identity, that what's in the bottle is what it says is in the bottle, its purity, it doesn't have added heavy metals, it doesn't have sawdust, it doesn't have prescription medications, its strength has to be verified, its composition, what it's made up of. So the good manufacturing practice has been required of natural supplement companies. Just a few months later, in December of 2007, the FDA said, if a product has a problem, it needs to be reported to the FDA within 15 days. Mandatory reporting. And every supplement bottle has to have on the label information about who's making it and where the report should go to. This has resulted in many supplements being recalled. The PC Spets, which I talked about having the Coumadin in it, or the warfarin, was taken off the market. Cancer Off, taken off the market. And you might think, gee, I'm smart enough, I know not to buy those things. I know better. I'm an educated consumer. But think about someone with cancer. They're looking for hope. They're looking for a cure, anything that can help them. And this becomes a $1 million industry, leading to billions of dollars at the end of the day. Well, I have some other good news. Along with our GMP practices, there are some companies that are doing independent testing on their own. And there's a website I just want to call your attention to. The website is www.consumerlab.com. Consumer Lab does both voluntary, meaning I give them my supplement to test, and non-voluntary testing of dietary supplements. So that means they will actually go into the stores, take the bottles off the shelf, and test them. And what they're looking for is what we just talked about. They want to know, does the supplement have the amount of strength, composition, identity, and purity that it says on the label? So they are an independent body that gives out a lot of free information to even people like me. When I'm looking for the best product for my patients, for example, I went on consumerlab.com not too long ago because I wanted to see what they rated as the best red yeast rice. That's a common supplement used to lower cholesterol. So I went on to consumerlab.com, took a look at what they were rating, and I was able to find the one that had the highest rating. They also put their seal of approval on the bottle, and it looks like an Erlenmeyer flask, one of those flasks you get in your chemistry class. And the flask will say CL, Consumer Lab, tested. So if you see that, you at least know this product has been put through a series of tests and it has passed in terms of its purity and its composition. So watch out for the labels on the bottles. Look for the CL, look for the GMP, Good Manufacturing Practice, and look for one more, USP. The USP label, like the GMP label, implies that identity, strength, purity, and quality of this supplement has been evaluated. These products have the ingredients they say they have. And USP stands for United States Pharmacopoeia. So these products are made to what we call pharmaceutical grade. That means they are as good a product as if it was a drug in terms of how it's made. Another independent certification body is the NSF. They also certify the contents in the natural supplements bottle. So again, if you see the CL for Consumer Lab, the GMP, the USP, or the NSF labels, you can feel relatively comfortable that this is a tested product. And if you like to go to the internet, I can give you lots of other resources. Every year at Scripps, I do a conference on natural supplements. And I have to teach this to physicians. And one of the resources I use for them is naturaldatabase.com. So you can go to www.naturaldatabase.com and you can get information on supplements, on supplement drug interactions, anything you want to know. The second one I use quite a bit, again with physicians, is the dietarysupplements.info.nih.gov. This is the NIH's website. This is the NIH Office of Natural Supplements. You can start with these two and consumerlab.com, and you have 3 powerful websites that can help you immediately to navigate this industry. The FDA also has a website for reporting adverse events. So if you think you've taken a product that has caused a problem for you, you can go to the fda.gov/medwatch website. Or you can even call. They have a 1-800 number, FDA 1088. So lots of resources now available to regulate an industry that for many years was not doing a great job. So this industry is regulated. So now we have some idea of how we can objectively evaluate natural products, vitamins, minerals, supplements, herbs, and we will have a whole lecture on herbal medicine alone. We know that there's a time and place for vitamins and supplements. But I just want to share with you a few that are on the market today that I want you to think about. And for the rest of the course, we will be talking about natural products throughout. Let's start with one that's familiar to most people. It's called a probiotic. Now, you see probiotics showing up everywhere. They're in yogurt, they're in kefir, they're in lots of food items now. Well, what is a probiotic? A probiotic is a living organism. It's a live organism that, when ingested in the right amounts, can have a healthy benefit on the host. The host would be us. So think about this for a second. That patient of mine who I talked about with sinusitis in a previous lecture took 6 courses of antibiotics, 10 days or so each, over the previous year. She was getting a lot of antibiotics. Well, we know that when you take antibiotics, they don't just kill, if you might, the bad bacteria. They change the entire bacteria of your gut, the flora of your intestinal tract. This is one of the key reasons that people end up with gas and bloating after taking antibiotics. They don't have the healthy bacteria. It's been wiped out and it's been replaced with unhealthy bacteria. So what are some examples of a probiotic? Acidophilus, that's a common one. Lactobacillus, that's another one. And there are some patented probiotics that are on the market that are quite good. For example, VSL3 has 8 different strains of probiotic. So let's take a look at some of the research on probiotics. Now, one of the most serious inflammatory diseases that we see is ulcerative colitis. Ulcerative colitis can not only make someone's life miserable, with some people having 100 bowel movements a day, and that's not an exaggeration at all. It's real. It's not exaggerated. They feel dehydrated, nauseous, gas, bloating, diarrhea. I mean, this is a tough disease to have. Well, they did a very interesting study. They said, what if we take people with active ulcerative colitis and we give them 6 grams a day of VSL number 3? Remember, I said that's the probiotic that has 8 different strains of the good bacteria, the lactobacillus, the acidophilus, 8 different types of strains. They found that 85% of the people taking the VSL number 3 were in remission 1 year later, versus only 6% of the placebo group. So to me, this is powerful medicine. Anyone with active ulcerative colitis needs to talk to their physician about being on probiotics. But what's important here, I was very careful to tell you which product, because the product is the key. When a supplement is tested, you want to make sure if you take that supplement, you're taking the one that was studied. If you take one that looks like it, it may not give you the same result. An 85% reduction in symptoms, still in remission, no symptoms, versus 6% in placebo. That is unbelievable from a probiotic. Let's look at another indication for probiotics. People who have gastroenteritis. There's that itis word again. Inflammation of the GI tract. Maybe you got exposed to a bug, like the rotavirus. Many children get exposed to a virus called rotavirus, and it can cause diarrhea. And when you have a lot of fluid loss through your bowels, like diarrhea, you're going to get dehydrated. You're going to lose your potassium, lose your magnesium. That's why people feel so terrible. They're completely dehydrated. And what they found was that if you just give probiotics, you have a significant reduction in the risk of the diarrhea. That is huge. And you can correct the diarrhea associated with the rotavirus, meaning if someone has this acute virus and you give the probiotics, you can slow down its course. And that is profound. One other indication, and I sort of alluded to this earlier. A beautiful study came out that said, what if we give some good probiotics like lactobacillus, and the names right now are not so important because the research is there, but what if we get people to consume 100 grams in the form of a drink of lactobacillus and other probiotics, and we have them do this 2 times a day while they're getting antibiotics and for 1 week after their antibiotic course. Can we reduce the risk of antibiotic-induced diarrhea? Now, I have to step back a bit. Antibiotics, when taken on a routine basis, and for some people even 1 course, can change the bow flora so much that C. difficile, which is a pathogen, begins to grow. C. difficile will cause the most profound diarrhea anyone ever can have, leading to all the problems I just discussed. What they found in this study, which was published in the British Medical Journal, was that those people taking the probiotic had a reduction of 21.6% of getting C. difficile. What they concluded was this: this has the potential to decrease morbidity, healthcare costs, and mortality if we just give the probiotics to people with their antibiotics. And this has been proven in children as well. So, at the end of the day, we can conclude that probiotics improve flare-ups of ulcerative colitis. Remember, 85% of patients remained in remission, 85%. Prevent antibiotic-induced diarrhea and help with the symptoms and shorten the duration of the diarrhea that's caused by gastroenteritis viruses like the rotavirus. Well, what else is out there? Let's take a look at a few more. Let's look at selenium. Selenium was studied in the 1990s, and someone thought that maybe selenium can protect against skin cancer. So they gave people participating in the study 200 micrograms per day of selenium. Well, the endpoint of this study was skin cancer, and the selenium didn't seem to have any effect. So many people said, well, you don't need the selenium. But what did the study show? The study showed that prostate cancer decreased by over 50% and colorectal cancer by 62%. And this was in the Journal of the American Medical Association, just giving selenium 200 micrograms per day, and that's a natural supplement. Let's go back to vitamin D. You heard me say in the beginning, vitamin D is needed for your bones. It's needed for your heart. It protects your muscles. It helps with symptoms of fibromyalgia. It helps with depression. It does all of these things. What about cancer? Is there any role for vitamin D in cancer? Well, a very interesting study was presented in 2008 at the American Society for Clinical Oncology. Basically, they know that breast cancer cells have vitamin D receptors. So that said, let's take a look at the vitamin D levels of the women with breast cancer. And what they found was that 37% of the women had Welcome back. Did you know that the bark of this tree is one of the most prescribed medications for headache and inflammation? Or did you know that this beautiful flower has been prescribed by physicians for decades to treat heart arrhythmia? Well, it's true. The first is white willow, and I bet some of you take it every day. The bark of the white willow tree gives us aspirin. And that beautiful flower is foxglove, which gives us an important heart medicine called digoxin. So let's stop thinking about herbs as alternative medicine. We have just seen that white willow and foxglove are used by physicians every day to treat common medical problems. Today, we are going to talk about a few of my favorite herbal remedies. We will explore some of the ailments that they are good for, and more importantly, the evidence to support their use. Let's start with 4 herbs that are great for the gastrointestinal tract. The first one in this category is aloe vera. Now you may think aloe vera is used to treat burns and wounds externally, and you would be right. If I got a sunburn today, I would go in the garden, take some aloe vera from the plant, crack the plant open, and put that cool gel on my skin. And it would definitely help the burn to heal. But did you know that aloe vera is also used internally as well? Well, I didn't know about that use of aloe vera internally. I actually learned it from a patient. I remember when I was a young resident at Sloan Kettering, we were treating a wonderful rabbi who had lymphoma. The chemotherapy was causing severe mouth ulcers. This is very common with chemotherapy. The rabbi came in one day and insisted that all of his mouth irritation and all of the ulcers were being relieved with aloe vera. This was in the 1980s. Well, guess what? The rabbi was right. Research has since shown that aloe vera, when taken internally, is indeed a soothing tonic for ulcers in the mouth, for sores, and for what's called mucositis. Mucositis is an inflammation of the lining of the mouth. And also, internally, aloe vera has been shown to help with the inflammation that we see in ulcerative colitis and irritation to the colon lining. Now, it's very important, as it is in all herbal medicine, to know what kind of formulations of herbal remedies that you are going to use. For example, for mouth ulcers, you want to use the inner fillet of the aloe leaf, 2 to 3 ounces, 2 times per day. Why is it important to use the right one? Well, aloe has a very special second indication. The powdered aloe vera leaf is a strong laxative. When I have patients who have really bad constipation, I may recommend aloe vera. And of course, because it's a strong laxative, we need to use it with a lot of caution. Let's take a look at a second gastrointestinal herbal superstar. This one is ginger. Whenever I hear that someone has nausea, the first herb I reach for is ginger. 30 to 55% of pregnant women will experience nausea and vomiting during their pregnancy. This is usually normal. Somewhere between week 4 and 8, we see a lot of nausea and vomiting. And then by week 16, a woman will say, I feel great. All those symptoms are gone. Ginger is the most extensively studied herb for nausea and for vomiting, even in pregnant women. A review of over 6 clinical trials found that ginger, 1.5 grams a day, is effective for treating pregnancy-induced nausea and vomiting. What's even more important to me as a physician, the research shows that the ginger is safe, that there are no side effects or adverse events. So it is not surprising that a National Cancer Institute-funded study showed a 40% reduction in chemotherapy-induced nausea when people were given ginger, 1/2 to 1 gram 3 days prior to chemotherapy and for the following week. So again, when I hear that someone has nausea, even if they're pregnant, especially if they're on chemotherapy, I encourage them to use dried ginger. Now, we have already seen two really good uses for herbal medicine. Number one, aloe vera, to treat the inflammation associated with mouth